Live and Let Die was released in 1973, with a fresh-faced 007 treading new ground, battling the forces of voodoo and the occult, with a bit of blaxploitation thrown in for good measure. With Sean Connery out of the picture, the producers trawled through another set of well-known faces to find the next James Bond. Actors in question ranged from Michael Billington to Clint Eastwood. Upon the insistence of Bond remaining British, Roger Moore was chosen, who had been in the running ever since Dr. No, and again with On Her Majesty's Secret Service. Having appeared as an amateur detective in The Saint, and millionaire playboy in The Persuaders, he'd near enough played the Bond character already. Moore's debut finds him investigating the death of 3 British agents, eventually making him the target of Harlem drug lord Dr. Kananga, known as Mr. Big. As the secretive dictator of a Caribbean island, he plans to flood the US with heroin to gain monopoly from the cartels, with help from his psychic Solitaire. Guy Hamilton returned to direct what was to be a different concept for a James Bond film. After 6 movies concerning Blofeld and Spectre, it was time for a change. The active racial movements at the time and rise in blaxploitation culture provided a drastically different background for Roger Moore's Bond. In effect, it would help distance himself from the behemoth that was Connery's shadow. The film also does this in other ways. Avoiding the typical office scene, M visits 007 instead, where we get to see his home complete with bedded beauty and horrible 70s decor. Live and Let Die also lacked a gadget-ridden presentation by Q. Bond's coffee machine was techno enough for the 70s. Other minor choices such as cigarettes into cigars, vodka martinis into bourbon whiskies, and tuxedos into that all add up to set apart Moore and let him be his own Bond. Unfortunately, this premiere performance by Moore is lackluster, and that's coming from a Roger Moore fan. There's no denying he looks the part, exquisitely dressed, pampered, styled and suited. The fact he was the oldest debuting Bond at 45 doesn't play into question at all. Appearance-wise, perfect. Performance-wise, however, is a different story. Roger is known for his overt self-deprecation, admitting he's not a very good actor and led a very lucky life.
You're so self-deprecating about your acting.
Well, I've seen myself.
Why?
And though it's always taken a bit too far with the eyebrow raising, his performance in Live and Let Die is slightly tepid. There's a sense of discomfort lingering in certain scenes, an uncomfortable presence that removes any suaveness. Before the more confident Roger Moore visible in his later outings, we're left with an actor unsure of how to make the character their own. With no Blofeld to chuck about in his bathosub, the villain of Live and Let Die is Caribbean Prime Minister Dr. Kananga, aka Drug Lord Mr. Big, played by Yaphet Kotto. Kananga isn't a terrible villain by any means. He has a subdued threat, and underneath his soft lisp lies a dangerous, abusive man. The duality of a shrewd businessman who yet relies on the power of tarot is also an interesting idea, even if it remains largely unexplored. Here lies a case where a villain is superseded by his own henchmen. Tee-hee clawing, Samadi dancing and Whisper bumbling all make for far more entertaining, memorable characters. Despite their complete incompetence in letting Bond escape numerous times, at least they're always able to see the funny side of things. Okay, not all of them. Live and Let Die is a mixed bag when it comes to the action. The Crocodile Farm and New Orleans funeral use the film's Louisiana setting brilliantly, but other big scenes are either too long or, weirdly, too quiet. Frequently we're left with just the chug of a bus engine or hum of the speedboats, and the lack of a score really undermines the energy of these chases. Perhaps this is due to John Barry's absence, who was unavailable at the time. Instead, George Martin was asked to produce the soundtrack, having worked on the film's excellent main theme with Paul McCartney and Wings. Unfortunately, we're left with repetitive scores with little character to them. He's good, but he's no John Barry. The film's climax performs the cardinal sin of having Bond use an unexplained gadget to escape. We're never actually shown the soar capabilities of the watch beforehand. Gadgets work when we're shown them and left to wonder how 007 will eventually use it. Coming out of the blue saps that enjoyment completely. This is followed by one of the most dreadful special effects in the series, when Kananga's demise sees him inflate up like a balloon and burst into nothing. Together they make Live and Let Die's ending a decidedly poor showing. Oh, and I left this comment to the end so you didn't immediately turn off, but I happen to like J.W. Pepper. There, I said it. How'd you feel about that, boy? Problems aside, the film's saving grace is its supernatural theme, which marks Live and Let Die with a distinctive tone never seen in a 007 film since. Though Moore was yet to find his feet with the character, audiences still flocked to see the new Bond in action. All that was left was for him to really settle down into the series.
He's too kind for a policeman, he's never known to frown, and everybody says he is the happiest man in town.